So I'm Rachel Anderson, and I'm going to be presenting on different advances that they've made in the health industry with nanotechnology. So first of all, what is nanotechnology? So it's the ability to manipulate matter at molecular and atomic levels, and it enables the creation of different materials with new properties. And the phrase nano is derived from the Greek word for dwarf, and it refers to anything with 10 to the negative ninth in it. So it's going to affect many different industries such as construction and other things, especially the health industry. And in the health industry, it will change how drugs are delivered, how diseases are diagnosed, and other areas of research. And then a subset of this is nanomedicine, which is using the combination of science and technology to diagnose, treat, prevent disease and injury, relieve pain, and improve patients' health. And it's done by using nanoscale materials and biotechnology along with genetic engineering, complex machines, and nanorobots. All right, so manipulating DNA. So there are different types of nanotechnology and manipulation of DNA. There's structural nanotechnology, which is building complicated structures on the molecular level. And these can then be used as a base for similar structures or as shells for other things. And then there's dynamic, which is building artificial strands on the molecular level and then forcing these together. And you interact with the strands to build them. And then the two ways to manipulate DNA is the molecular modeling, which is based on how the components interact. And it's used to force strands, again, to form a pattern. And then another way is the nucleic acid thermodynamics, which is basically just using heat to meet the same goal. All right, and some barriers. So it can become a programmable material for self-building, or for building self-assembled structures on a nano level. Some barriers, there was the unproven assumption that there's a SAM, sub-nanometer scale precise positional control. Basically, it's saying that there's other stuff controlling underneath the DNA, and they've proven that this was true. It was just an assumption they were going on, though. And then another barrier was that it took about a week to build these things. And they discovered that if you keep the temperature constant, you can build it in a matter of hours instead of a week. And then another advancement is they found the self-assembling process referred to as the one-pot reaction, which is where DNA strands are used as templates, and instructions and building material is placed within that at high temperatures. It'll basically do the same thing and build itself, like the nucleic acid thermodynamics idea. And it could be possible to have DNA nano devices built inside live cells and then build upon themselves. So some applications. Manipulating DNA, they hope to use it for tailoring meds based on genetics and other predispositions that people might have. And they've now created robots that can walk on the DNA or study it. They haven't completely finished them or perfected them, but they've got like the gist of it down. And what they have right now is latex beads that have been strung on the end of the DNA strand, and then it's held in place by a light beam. And it stretches out the DNA enough to allow the scientists to study the different building proteins. And then they hope to build biological containers for delivering medication to different parts of the body. And these would just be able to dissolve within the body and not have to, it just would be part of it. All right, so nanoparticles. So at NYU, the chemists have been working on the nanoscale robot, and it walks on legs that are 10 nanometers long. And it's similar, it's been used to look at cancer cells and potentially destroy them. And researchers at Harvard Medical School created an origami robot out of DNA, and it's barrel-shaped and carries instructions to the cells. It's been used before with the instructions to have lymphoma and leukemia cells commit suicide, so basically self-destruction. Right, and then nanostars. They're star-shaped nanoparticles that are made out of gold. They're used to deliver medication directly to the nucleus in a cancer cell. And because they're star-shaped, the points on them make it easier for medication to be dispensed. But besides that, they have a higher surface area than a sphere would, so they can take in heat faster and then destroy the cancer cells quicker. And then the problem with these, though, is that they're made out of gold, and this can be somewhat toxic to the body. So they've been playing around with making them out of selenium, which is in their natural diet, and they've come pretty close to perfecting it. And once they have all this, then the nanotechnologies will most likely be used to enhance medicine by using them along with technologies that have already been created, such as antibiotics. All right, so other uses. Some diagnostic applications. So MIT has been using carbon nanotubes in a gel to detect nitric oxide in the blood of a patient. And nitric oxide is a symptom of a severe infection, so it's really helpful to be able to detect it really quickly. And then the Arrowhead Research Company is creating RNAi therapeutic substances through nanotechnology. And these substances have been used to treat muscular degeneration and hepatitis in clinical trials, and they help alleviate the growth of harmful genes. And then Medical Technologies is a company based out of Dallas, I believe, and they've been working with nanoparticles and other items like that. Okay, and then nanodiagnostics, what I just talked about, is using nanobots inside the body to do tests on the cell level. And it could be done inside the body to find the presence of a disease and get rid of cells that are dangerous. So regenerative medicine is using cell therapy and tissue engineering to repair, maintain, and improve cells, tissues, and organs. And it could help, basically, what I just said. Some applications. They're programmable. Nanorobots are programmable. They can help physicians perform more tests and procedures at the cellular and molecular level, and can create less invasive surgeries and biopsies and other things like that. Okay. So some nanostructured surfaces. They're attached to, you can attach them to artificial joints, and it will help it attracts bone cells, and so it'll help the artificial joints grow quicker than if you hadn't put anything on there. And then they also have medical sensors, which helps alert a person to problems with their medical sensors before something really bad happens. And they can produce molecular structures that are similar enough to biological molecular structures that body parts can be regenerated or replaced. Okay, and then some other uses for nanorobots. Some examples are pharmaceuticals research, clinical diagnostics, dentistry, improving respiratory issues, and others. And then in Canada, they started looking at burn victims being treated with bandages containing silver. And the silver interacts with the cells, and they only have to change the bandages once a week because it penetrates so deeply. And it's easiest to fight bacteria and viruses on this nano size because that's how big they are. And so with our own nanotechnology, we're able to better fight them that way. All right, so lab on a chip. This will help with test results, getting them faster than we have them now for cancer and other things. Right now, it can detect the BK virus, which indicates that there's trouble in patients with kidney transplants. And they're hoping that by using the information to analyze individual cells and their genetic information, to eventually be able to pick up almost every disease or virus, from the flu to hives to HIV or SARS. And then drug overdoses, they've been experimenting with putting nanosponges in the bloodstream to absorb the toxic drugs. And these nanosponges help to neutralize the drugs and stop the overdose to some extent. And then the artificial joints, like I was saying earlier with the nanostructure, they put stuff on the artificial joints and it attracts bone cells and enables it to grow quicker than it would if you hadn't done anything. All right, and then there's medical microbots for medical use. So Aishiyama, I think is how you pronounce that, at Toku University created screws that spin and are driven by magnets, and they're used to swim along the bloodstream and bring medicine to infected tissues. And it can also go into tumors and destroy them. And then Brad Nelson developed a robot small enough to enter the body through a syringe, and it's hoped that it can be used in eye surgery and be minimally invasive. And then Gordon's group at University of Manitoba has introduced the idea of cytobots and karyobots. And cytobots would be controlled magnetically and be used to carry out wireless intercellular and internuclear surgery. And then karyobots are basically another name for that. And then reciprocates it's just the word for a hypothetical mechanical artificial blood cell that can bring 236 times more oxygen to the body and other cells, and it can help control the carbon acidity by being controlled via a wireless computer and then with the gas or acidity testing. So, any questions?
That'd be neat for someone who has like some pulmonary problem,
Yeah.
you know, if they could have a more efficient red blood cell. Breathing would be more efficient, huh? Of course, you know, tennis players and stuff, you know, they probably want it too. Something like that, right? Yeah. So watch out for those tennis players. Or golfers, I mean, oh man, they're always using drugs and stuff like that. It's baseball players, wasn't it? Remember that? Years ago, baseball player, a big scandal all over steroids there. Anyway, other questions?
I guess for the burn victims, when did they start trying the bandage process? Was that a recent thing, or has it been?
I don't know. I would assume it's fairly recent because I just Googled like recent advances, but it didn't really say when anything.
Okay. Other questions? All right, so let's thank Rachel. Nice job there.